All right. So we're going to dive right in again. Thank you for everyone who is tuning in live. And lastly, I want to mention today is February 23rd, 2020, right? So these PNP programs do come and go, requirements can change, everything like that. So I do want to date this. It's February of 2020. And so if you're watching this in the future, definitely double check that all the requirements that I'm going over still do match, because I don't want to lead anyone astray. So let's dive right in. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cover the 4 basic BC PNP options that are related to Express Entry. So the other thing you're going to notice with PNP programs of each province is that there are some that are connected with Express Entry and some that are not. And what we're going to do is, because Visto focuses on the Express Entry permanent residency application, I'm going to focus on the Express Entry related PNPs. Okay, so there are some actually more than what we have here. I'll give you guys a link to that so that you can access them if you want. I'm going to go over the ones that are linked to Express Entry. Those are the ones that can be done online. Processing is generally quicker. The other ones are paper-based, generally a little bit slower. And to be honest, I need a lot of time to go through all of them. So the 4 main ones are right here. You can actually see them on my screen. I'm going to go through each one. The good thing is there's a lot of overlap between a lot of the requirements of each. So the first one, skilled worker, might take me a few extra minutes, but the other ones are actually very, very similar, other than 1 or 2 requirements. So we're going to get started. The Express Entry BC skilled worker PNP. And so basically I'm going to send you guys links to all of these. So actually what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to post this link in the chat so that if you want to follow along with me, you can actually click on the links and follow along with me. All these other tabs that I'm going to open up are links from this link. So if you have this one starter link, you can get to everywhere else. So first we're going to talk about skilled workers. Basically what BC is saying here is there's a lot of high demand occupations that they're struggling to hire for in the province. And so this is a PNP directly targeting those. And so we're going to go to eligibility. Again, really quick, I want to give you guys as much important eligibility information as possible so you can really quickly determine, is this right for me or not, right? So the first qualification is you have to be eligible under Express Entry on one of the 3 programs, right? Federal Skilled Worker, Federal Skilled Trades, or Canadian Experience Class. Luckily, if you don't know what any of that is, just make sure to go into the Visto portal, visto.ai/register, or just go to visto.ai and click Get Started if you haven't already. I know most of you watching live have probably already signed up. That's how you found the Facebook group. Now the second requirement, and this is the key one here, is have accepted a full-time job offer, permanent job with no end date from a BC employer. The job must be in a NOC A, B, or Type 0 skill level. So this is going to be the kicker for most of you, right? Because as we know, finding a Canadian job offer is very difficult. Now here is the good thing about BC PNP is these job offers do not require LMIAs, right? So I'm going to throw a lot of terms at you. I will describe them quickly. Some of you who've been looking into PNPs might know some of these terms, some might not. An LMIA is a labor market impact assessment, and that is what a lot of immigration applications require to make a job offer valid, right? So you'll know that if you've looked into Express Entry and have tried to calculate your score and it asks you for a valid job offer, you'll know that a valid job offer will get you 50 bonus points if it's Type O, A, or B. If it's NOC 00, it'll get you 200 points, but that requires an LMIA from a company. What that means is a company has to apply on their own to sponsor you. They have to pay an additional fee. They have to wait for the processing, and sometimes they might have to prove that they've tried to recruit for 30 days. The good thing about BC PNP and all of the programs I'm about to tell you about, most of them require a job offer. I'm going to show you which ones do and which ones don't, but none of them require an LMIA, which means it's a lot easier to get an employer to offer you a job offer because they don't have to sponsor you, right? They do have to hire you with a job offer, but they don't have to get an LMIA. So that's why some of these options are a little bit more appealing than doing something like having to try and get a valid job offer through Express Entry. So that's number 1, qualify to work in your job in BC. So that means if you're getting a job offer for a software engineer, you have to prove that you have the skills and training to meet the requirements of what the province requires there. And so part of that is have at least 2 years of directly related work experience. So again, you're going to have to prove, okay, I've worked for 2 years as a software engineer and I meet any requirements that the province of BC has for software engineers. Show you can support yourself and your dependents. So that'll have to do with proof of funds. Now, luckily, if you're already meeting the first requirement, so the Express Entry program eligibilities, you know about proof of funds. So right now, if you're applying a loan, proof of funds is, I think, $12,690. You'll have to prove you have that in savings. So that's kind of baked into the first requirement, but you will need proof of funds. Have or be eligible for legal immigration status in Canada. So, for example, if you're already living in Canada, you were eligible for whether it be a work permit, study permit, or something like that, or if you're from abroad, there's nothing that makes you ineligible, right? Like a criminal history or poor medical history, all that type of stuff that's required for immigration status. Meet the minimum language requirements. So again, that relates directly with Express Entry. And we might be able to see the specific, okay, they match Express Entry. Okay, so if you meet the Express Entry language requirements, so probably CLB 7, if you're a skilled worker. Skilled trades is lower, I believe it's CLB 5. And then have a wage offer in line with BC wage rates for the occupation. So when you're being sponsored, or when you're getting a job offer from a federal, if you're a foreign worker, then there are minimum wage requirements. So basically, you have the valid job offer, and they're meeting the minimum wage requirements of the province. So those are the requirements. Probably the ones I'll quickly highlight. Obviously, the Express Entry stuff, and if you need help with Express Entry, all of that's in the Visto portal, right? So visto.ai to sign up for free. The full-time job offer, that's probably going to be the biggest sticking point. And we do have other resources, and I'll talk a little bit about job offers at the end as well. The rest is pretty straightforward and or in line with Express Entry already. So really quickly, is my employer eligible? They must meet the employer requirements. Let's take a really quick look at the employer requirements. They're pretty basic, right? So legitimate employer in good standing in BC. So any sketchy companies, be very weary of any companies that are willing to pay you up front or guaranteeing visas or anything like that. Be very wary of that. Provide full-time employment, have a history of good workplace and business practices, so they don't have any complaints against them with the government. Sign an employer declaration. So these are stuff you don't really have to work about. Really, that you won't have to worry about. This is things that they'll have to worry about. Make a full-time job offer you a wage in line. So yeah, that's pretty much saying the same thing. They'll have to give you a written job offer, complete certain employer-related sections of the application form. So they will have to help you through parts of the application and notify BC PNP if there are any changes. So pretty straightforward. These are things that you don't have to worry about as much. There's some ineligible employers. So, I mean, these are pretty straightforward. Selling pornographic or sexually explicit products. Employment agencies and similar firms, any type of business would tend to bring into disrepute. Okay, so keep a quick eye on these. But this is probably stuff that your employer will more have to worry about than you. How does it work? To start the process, so again, you're going to have your Express Entry profile created already. And then you have to create a profile online through BC PNP Online is what it's called. And then you will get a score. So it's actually very similar to Express Entry in the sense that if you do think you're eligible, you create a BC PNP Online profile, and based on your skills, your job, all that stuff, you get a score, and then they invite people with the highest scores to apply. So the link's right here, register and apply. There's a get started guide, so if you need more information. So that's it for skilled workers. And what you can also find is if you're not sure if you fit the requirements of being a skilled worker, the focus here is skill type O, A, or B. And the way to find that out is you need your NOC code, right? So if you have done any Express Entry work, you'll know about NOC codes. And we actually have a guide within the portal on how to find your NOC code. And all you have to do is type it in, and it'll tell you what type of whether it's O, A, or B. It should tell you. Let me scroll down. No, wait, maybe it doesn't tell you. What you should do is find NOC code. There's actually, so you can find this on the portal itself. Actually, I'm going to take you right to the portal because we have a guide taking you into the secret back end of the Visto portal. But we have a guide within the Visto portal on how to find your NOC code, even if you don't know right now what an NOC code is. So just give me 1 second here. If you sign into the Visto portal and you go under the create your profile, it's the 4th page here, and you scroll down under how to pick the right NOC code, and I literally walk you step by step where the link is, what to do, how to find it, etc., right here, how to pick the right NOC code. All right, and that will help tell you. You'll see if you go on the link that I link to, it will teach you how to find the skill type. So for example, software engineer 2173, boom, skill type A. So you know that you're eligible for the BC PNP skilled worker. All right. So that's number 1 of 4. Like I said, that one took me a little bit longer because, as you're going to see for the other 3 PNPs I'm going to quickly mention, most of the eligibility criteria are the same. So we're going to move to the second one, and it's actually the tech pilot. So this is actually kind of an extension of the skilled worker one, specifically for tech workers. And this blurb here is basically saying we need a lot of tech workers, so we move a little bit faster for tech workers, right? So for example, your employer will have a dedicated concierge to help them. They process them quicker, they get prioritized, etc., etc. So I basically just summarized that for you. And so the long story short of the BCPNP tech pilot is that there are 32 in-demand occupations. Oh, no, the pilot will continue with 29 of these occupations. So there are 29 NOC codes that match actually, let's pull them up right here, and we'll take a look at that in a second. But basically, everything I just told you about the first one, so the BC skilled worker, applies, but if you fall under one of the 29 tech NOC codes, they basically you would get faster processing. So there's weekly invitations. So when you create your profile, you'll be called much quicker, and priority processing. So you'll see here processing times 2 to 3 months from receipt. And then I believe you can also submit a work permit application in the meantime. So this information is not so important because most of it is just a duplicate of the skilled worker one, so the first one I talked about, but if you're a tech worker. So here are the 29 eligible occupations, and again, if you just go to so again, this is the link I sent to all of you. You can just click on skilled worker, it'll take you here, and then on the right you'll see here BC PNP Tech Pilot. You click that, it'll take you here, and then you can scroll down and you can find the eligible tech occupations, and the list is right here. So I'll leave that up to you because each of you will have your own NOC codes. If you're on this list, you might be eligible. So again, really quick, tech NOC codes, job offer of 1 year or longer, and that's pretty much it. The rest of it you can quickly review. Like I said, what I want to do on these videos is quickly go through each one so you know which ones are the best fit for you. Okay? And then you can do a little bit more research, right? I can't do everything here. I only have so many hours in the day. Okay, so we're going to move on to the third BC PNP related to Express Entry, and that's for healthcare professionals. So if you're a healthcare professional, this will apply to you. So again, very similar. We're going to go through eligibility, and it's very similar. The main difference from the first one is that obviously you're a healthcare professional. So first you'll see, have received, so you've basically submitted a profile through Express Entry, and you're eligible under one of the 3 programs. That's basically what this is saying. Number 2 is you have the full-time job offer, again, just like we talked about previously with the first one, but you're falling under one of these: physician, specialist, registered psychiatric nurse, nurse practitioner, allied health professionals such as never even heard of an allied health professional. But if you are one of these, then you would be eligible under this stream, which is the healthcare professional, right? Now there's a note, if you're a midwife, have a letter of confirmation from an established practice group. Qualify to work in your occupation in BC. So again, this is the exact same as what I talked about earlier in the video about a skilled worker. Have at least 2 years of directly related experience, so that's exactly the same. Sure, you can support yourself, that's exactly the same. Have her be eligible for legal immigration, again, exactly the same. Meet the minimum language requirements, again, that's going to depend on your express entry path, I believe. Yep. So this is going to take you to the Immigration Canada website. Yep. So you're going to need to meet the language requirements, which again is kind of irrelevant because, well, not irrelevant, but it's in line with express entry already. So if you've got that covered, and again, if you want more information on language exams, including how to sign up for them and even resources on how to study for them, check out the portal under that Create Your Profile page that I mentioned earlier. Also under Raise Your CRS Score. We have a lot of good resources there because getting a better score is a great way to raise your CRS score. Minimum language requirement and wage job offer. So as you'll notice, these are the exact same as these. All right, so the only difference here is the type of job offer you have. Again, the job offer does not need an LMIA, but you need a job offer for one of those roles. Again, is my employer eligible? It's the exact same for the most part. There might be a few extra additions here because of the medical part, right? So they might, I mean, this is kind of a guess off the top of my head, but yeah, like your employers are probably going to have a little bit more in check because we're talking about medicine and health and all that type of stuff. But other than that, again, it's the same thing. How does it work? Create your profile in the BC PNP system, and then they'll do a draw and it goes from there, right? So again, that was super quick because again, there's so much overlap, and so very similar to the skilled worker stream. All right, so we do have 2 more. If you have any questions, again, either hold on to them to the end because I am going to stick around, take all your questions, or feel free, you can throw them in the chat now. I'm not going to answer them right now because I'm getting into a good rhythm here, but at the end I will scroll up and I will go through every question. So let's keep moving along. So this is the international graduate stream. Again, BC PNP Express Entry stream. And so again, this is going to be even quicker because it's even, just as much overlap. So qualification, again, same thing. You need to have an eligible profile through Express Entry of one of the 3. Now, again, here, these are the exact same too, right? So this will sound familiar. Qualify to work in your occupation, show you can support yourself, be eligible for immigration status. Okay, here's the kicker here. So there's 2 differences. Number 1 is this. Number 1 is this. So have accepted a full-time job from a BC employer. Again, skill type O, A, or B. So that's not a surprise. But the kicker is have completed a degree, diploma, or certificate from an eligible post-secondary institution in Canada in the past 3 years. So the interesting thing here is it can actually be from a school in any other province. So if you got a degree, diploma, or certificate from a college that's eligible in Ontario or Quebec or wherever, and for some reason you're struggling to find a job there, but you're able to land a job in BC, you might be eligible, again, because I don't know if you meet all the other requirements, but you might be eligible for the BC PNP for international graduates. So that's why this is pretty interesting. Again, you will have to find a job, and hopefully Visto will be able to help more and more with that as we start to partner with more and more employers. But if you are able to land a job in BC, at least you know that there is a clear path to PR. So again, meet the language requirements, have a wage offer. So these are all the same, right? The only difference between the International Graduate Program and the Healthcare Professional Program and the Skilled Worker Program tends to be, well, in this case, it's having a degree from a Canadian university, and that's kind of in line with that. So again, is my employer eligible? This must look familiar by now because we've gone over it twice already. How does it work? Create your profile. People with the higher scores are invited to apply, right? So very similar. Again, if you do think you meet these eligibility criteria, I do recommend reading a little bit further because There might be some little nuances that are slightly different, but what I want to do is make sure you guys know which ones you might be eligible for so that you can do a deeper dive. So that is that. And again, each one has a get started guide, right? So it goes into probably every piece of information you need to know. Whew. Okay, I'm going to take a quick breath and a quick sip of water because I've been trying to fit as much information in as possible. I think this is the last one, yeah, and then we go into some general information. So the last one is the international postgraduate stream. So I believe these are BC institutions only, but if you have a postgrad degree from BC, then you're in luck. So here we go, right here. You must have graduated in the last 3 years with a master's or doctorate degree in the natural, applied, or health sciences. And so they list them out here. So this will only apply, I believe, if you have a BC degree. Let me double check. Yeah, in BC. So we'll check the eligibility criteria. Again, eligible program through Express Entry. Again, eligible for immigration. Now here's the kicker. Have completed a valid graduate program of study. So again, it's going to be one of these, master's or PhD in one of these applied natural or health sciences in BC in the last 3 years. So if you've graduated within the last 3 years from a BC, PhD or master's program under one of these, you'd be eligible for this. Show your intent and ability to live in BC. So what that means is they're going to want some semblance of proof that you want to stay. Now the interesting thing here is they don't require a job offer, right? So that's the kind of nice thing, and that's why they're asking for your intent and ability to live in BC, because they don't want you to get PR and then just go to another province, right? So you're going to have to show, and this will depend on you and the kind of situation you're in and maybe family and work stuff, you do have to show some intent to live in BC. So that could be things like searching for jobs, have a job offer, have some family that are there, have some friends that are there, you're involved in organizations, any way that you can show a connection to the province would be valuable there. So again, how do you start? Same as before, create a profile and you submit it online to BC PNP Online, and that's very straightforward as well. All right, so those are kind of the 4 keys. So skilled worker, which again is not O, A, or B, you do need a job offer. So this is really quickly. Tech pilot is basically an extension of the skilled worker pilot, PNP, but that's for if you fall under one of these 29 tech NOC codes, and you'll get priority, so it'll go faster. Healthcare professional. So again, you need a job offer, and you'll be working as one of these thingies, one of these job titles. The international graduate. So if you graduated from any eligible school or university in Canada, you might be eligible. Again, you're going to need a job offer for this. And then the last one is the postgraduate degree from BC, and that does not require a job offer. But you need that degree from BC and be able to show you can stay there. So really quickly, then they have like a really quick overview. So again, if you go to that first link I sent you and you click Express Entry BC process, it'll take you to this page. And they walk you more in depth about kind of what the process is like. So again, who should register, it takes you through their system. So the Skills Immigration Registration System, SIRS, SIRS, is where you update some of your information, what you should know before you register. So if you are eligible and going to be moving forward, it might be worth it to read through this, what factors affect your score, how the rankings work, how many people get invited, things like that is good to know. The application itself, nomination, all that good stuff is right there. So I recommend taking a look if you are or you think you are eligible under one of the other streams. And then really quickly, I wanted to highlight the estimated processing time. So in most cases, it's 2 to 3 months. And the reason why I wanted to highlight this is to give you an idea about how long this might add to the process, right? So if you're going through a PNP, it's going to take you an additional amount of time, right? And so you might have to keep that in mind based on maybe you're in Canada on a permit that's expiring, or maybe you want to plan this for your move if you're moving from outside of the country or inside the country. And so that's why I wanted to highlight the 2 to 3 month period. So that's it. The only other thing I actually wanted to cover was fees. That's usually a piece of information that I like to show all of you. Let me see if we can pull up fees really quickly. Because obviously that is important. And after that, I'm going to go to Q&A. Okay, so $700 application fee. And is that for all program requirements? Skills immigration. Yeah, so it looks like the fee is $700 for the BC PNP application. And obviously that they'll probably go into more detail on the website as well. I'm just really quickly scrolling, buying myself some time now. But I'm not 100% sure off the top of my head if each one has a different fee. Let me check here, because if this one says the same thing, skills immigration. Oh yeah, it's all the same. So it looks like the fee will be $700 to submit that application. Yeah, $700. So that's good. I like to always cover fees and processing times when I'm doing these programs for all of you, because those are obviously two important pieces of information. So that's pretty much it. I now have way too many links open on my tab, but all of these links that I got to come from right here, right? So I linked it at the beginning of this chat. If you are watching live, it is in the live chat. And what I'm going to do now is open up the floor to Q&As. Really quickly, also just want to say again, if you haven't already registered, all of this information will now also be put into the portal, right? So I'm going to be able to summarize this with links, turn it into a mini BC PNP guide. It will all be included in the Visto portal. So if you go to visto.ai and click Get Started Now, or Get Started in the top right, or Get Started at the very bottom somewhere. Oh, Register at the very bottom if you aren't already. And we're going to do a live Q&A. If you're watching this after the fact, it's because you weren't watching it live within our private Facebook community. So make sure to join. Again, it's all free to join and you can take part. So I'm going to turn this over to the floor. Again, to everyone who tuned in and stuck around, I do really appreciate you taking the time on a Sunday to hang out with me. I'm going to go through all your questions. Feel free to post them in the Facebook chat right now, and I'm going to answer them after I take one more sip of water, because I just spoke a lot for half an hour.